5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jon.
I'm Brittney.
And this is
Random Rewind.
I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to everybody for watching.
Hey, thanks
listening.
a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you guys. We're going to kind of preface this with, can you please assist us a little bit? We need some help in order to grow our channel, grow this podcast, and we need your guys' help in order to do that. Can you guys do the little things all down below? They're free to do, all the little likes and subscribes and follow-alongs. And you can unsubscribe at any given time.
Don't say that.
But
No, you can't.
But you don't have to.
I'm going to come to your house.
She might.
And I'm going to resubscribe you when you're not looking.
She might knock on your door and just hit the subscribe button for you again.
Well, when
that
you're
may
asleep, I'll use your face thing, and then I'll go in and just...
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I've never done it before, I swear.
We found a workaround. Sorry,
The
guys.
loophole.
The loophole.
Don't unsubscribe or I'll find you.
She'll find you,
Just
and
kidding.
she will resubscribe you.
I will resubscribe you. I'll be like, why? Why did you?
Exactly.
No, I wouldn't.
Maybe.
No.
So I saw. Okay, so second of all, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break.
Yeah,
after
tell
the
them
show.
why.
I am leaving on a little bit of a trip, and we have a bunch of end of school year stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
that
so
time.
it is that time. Last year, this time we managed to put in a show, but we have a lot more going on this time of year. I'm going to go with.
Well, you're going to be gone for a big chunk of time. So.
I am. So it's really challenging to run a show. So you will see a short here or there, thanks to Brittney's magic behind the scenes there, putting up some shorts and TikToks and whatnot, just to remind you guys that we are still here.
We're still alive.
We're still alive, and we'll be back towards the end of June, beginning of July, around there.
Yeah,
So
like the beginning of.
Yeah. In this last few weeks, because everything's been so chaotic, we've actually gone out to dinner a few times with friends and family and whatnot. And the one thing that's caught me off guard, and this is we've spoken about this numerous times in the past, is tipping.
Uh-huh.
And I will always tip to the day I freaking die.
Are you
always?
Do you mean like how everything is a tip now, or like
Yes.
you know how that's been kind of crazy, and then they hand you the screen?
I know you have an opinion on this because I know how strongly you feel about tipping as well.
Yeah.
Because again, you used to work in food service, so you understand how that process works for the people actually behind the scenes, right? The thing that kills me, and I saw this post and I thought it was brilliant. If I'm standing up and you're standing up while I place my order, I'm not tipping.
Well, it gets fishy there, because sometimes I will, because if you're ordering a drink from Starbucks, you're both standing there,
Yes.
right? So I think, but because I know the work that is going into said drink,
Yes.
I'm going to tip, because I know that is going to get, they're all a big team there, so they're going to.
I don't disagree with that comment to a certain degree.
With drink making, though, because I mean, and some
Drink
people's
making,
orders are
because,
insane.
Yeah, drink making is fine, especially if you've got if you're just gonna order an iced tea with sugar, that's whatever.
That if you water or something simple, but if you're like,
but
I need a venti triple,
double, half foam, half calf, blah blah, BS, throw in a couple bucks.
Well, and it's not. I mean, I usually do. It depends how much cash I have, but I'll do like $1 to $2 per drink.
Because I use the same concept for tipping at
a bar,
coffee house that I would do at a bar.
A bar, exactly.
Right?
So because
you're
taking
a complicated
time,
drink, it'll usually be $2.
But then
if it's a beer or even a beer, I'll still usually donate. I usually
donate
I usually tip $1 as well, because it's just, for me, I've always done that, even since I was
that's how it. I feel like that's good though, like $1 per drink. But I feel like on the opposite of that, when I go to pick up food, like if I called it in to go,
yes,
and I go to pick it up and I pay,
yes,
and then it's like, well, what do you want to tip? It's like, if are those tips going to the kitchen, or are they going to the service staff?
That's my only problem,
because you didn't serve. You
Right.
handed me over the bag.
So if I, and that's not going to happen, right? So you go to a restaurant, when you go to tip, that money usually goes, the majority of it goes to the waiter or waitress. Then a little bit goes to the kitchen, a little bit goes to the...
Sometimes.
Sometimes. It depends on the restaurant, right?
Some restaurants don't tip out kitchen at all. Some, you tip out your bussers. Some, they leave it up to the server.
Yeah, it's up to them to split it
however they want to do it, Which isn't a good idea because most of them won't.
They just keep the money.
But then, with that comes backlash because then guess what? Your busser doesn't fill up your ice. You know what I mean? Like you tip for
you're getting service from your
you're
service
tipping exactly. They serviced you, so you're
helping them out
exactly. So that makes
kind
sense.
of a full circle thing. But that's the problem with like ordering out when we go to pick something up. I don't know who.
I don't tip on a food pickup.
I don't either.
I didn't when people ordered from me food to go. Yeah. I never expected a tip.
We ordered from this restaurant in Santa Monica for one of Chauncey's events, right? And you ordered directly on the website, and they were going to deliver. It looks like directly from the website, and so we tipped 20% because it was a big order.
It was a catering order?
It was a catering order.
Yeah.
It was a big order.
Yeah,
we knew there was going to be a lot of work involved. We want the kitchen staff to get covered for this or whoever's helping put this together.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What we found out was, and it stated nowhere on the freaking site when we checked out, it was DoorDash. Just the DoorDash driver got the entire tip.
So
and I'm all for tipping DoorDash. Don't get me wrong, but we tipped 20%
on that huge order
to cover the staff that was putting together
that made
order.
The food.
Exactly. I'm like, yes, the driver should deserve a tip.
And then
I don't credit that.
No, and you're right. And I'm kind of having this epiphany right now because what's the difference? Like, shouldn't we be tipping the person who made said food? Instead of the person who drove it over, or do they both get a tip?
Yeah, a majority of the work happened before it even hit the driver's hands.
Way before DoorDash.
Yeah, so that kind of
he was probably so stoked.
And, exactly.
So excited.
And then we were at another restaurant in Burbank, and we went out to dinner with these friends of Chauncey's a few times. And the second restaurant they picked, and it was good food. Don't get me wrong, it was great food. And I went to go pay the bill, and then looked at the tip, and the 20% wasn't 20%.
Oh, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. That happened big at our Cheesecake Factory. There was articles all over about it because somebody did the math.
I was so livid.
And they were way off. People do that. Check. Do the math.
Yeah, you have to do the math.
Because it happens a lot.
Most people aren't going to waste the time to do the math.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's accurate, but that should be freaking illegal.
I hate math, and I do that. I'm like, 20%, 25%. Oh, this is how much I tip, and I do that all the time.
But I figure it's the total time. The total.
Well, you don't think they're doing
like
me, not a math person. I'm assuming it's right.
I do too. I don't assume that the restaurant's trying to dupe me.
No, they're trying to scam you off that. They're skimming that little bit off the top.
It's not even a little bit. It was like a whole nother 10%.
What?
Yeah.
It wasn't even like 2 more percent.
No, it was like 30%.
They're like, hey.
I think it came to like I think they came to a rough number like 28.7%, something stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well now I'm gonna do a custom amount. Here's your freaking what I think you deserve now. I was pissed.
And I would be pissed too. And the thing is, it's not like I understand being a bartender or whatever and getting tips for your work, but in the same note, tipping in the United States only exists because restaurant owners weren't willing to pay their staff a living wage
until this year. Now they have to. They're required
to pay how much they would make on tips.
No, now they're making more than the minimum wage. They're making at that 18 and 20.
Well, fast food
restaurants have to follow suit this coming year. So
minimum wage 15 or because California's always been minimum wage
to that $20 or whatever
to the 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're paying. We're not paying. The restaurant is paying a proper living wage. Mm-hmm. Why does the tip have to be so high again?
Well, that's the thing, though. If we do everything right and by the book, you don't mess up that bottom percentage and you leave it regular. And then that way I get to determine, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard because I get it because I've been in it.
No, I did.
Anytime anyone,
I worked in plenty of places where we received a tip at the end of the transaction.
And anytime you get that extra money, it's like, yes, like my kid's gonna get food now, right?
No, and I don't discredit.
So I'm always for it tipping because you're helping out somebody.
The entire purpose of tipping initially was because restaurant workers were getting paid $2, $3, $5 an hour.
I think that still happens in other states.
Some states, California's not going to
No,
allow that.
we've
anymore.
never done that.
We've never done that. But even that being said, say they're making minimum wage.
Yeah.
Minimum wage is not a living wage. I don't care how you look at it.
What's minimum wage federally? I don't know.
I think it's like 12 something.
Like $12.50 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember. I'd have to check.
I remember when I was younger.
You guys let us know. Write it down the comment section below. What's your guys' minimum wage where you guys live? And then what do you think the federal minimum wage is?
No, here's the fun question.
What's that?
What was minimum wage when you started working?
Oh, I know
what was yours?
So for we're here in California, my minimum wage is $4.25.
That's so funny because what mine was, I started working when I was 16, so mine was $6.
Oh wow!
So it went and then I remember it jumped from $6 to $7.50, and it was like
yeah, it was score. Yeah, so I worked food service, but because you work food service, you make an extra 50 cents roughly.
Okay.
So I made $4.50.
$4.50 an hour.
$4.50 an hour.
That's so crazy.
I was stoked.
That's the question is what it was everyone's starting minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly. But $4.50 allowed me to put in a buttload of money into my car, paid for my gas, paid for our beer and alcohol.
Yeah, you sound like my grandpa when he was like, I used to take a nickel to the
But that's what I'm saying is like now you're saying like if you take today's minimum wage, it's barely covering your rent.
Yeah, but do you think the same thing's going to happen in 20 years and then we're going to be like, oh, remember 20 years ago when the minimum wage was $20?
Yeah, but like this is what I'm getting at.
Does it ever stop?
That's what I'm getting at is even when you had minimum wage, right? That minimum wage helped you, like you could pay for gas in your car, you can pay for food, you could pay for rent. I paid for rent. The apartment I had on Ocean Boulevard.
With minimum wage.
On minimum
with
wage.
$4.50 an hour, which is
Isn't
insane.
that freaking nuts?
Yeah, that could never happen now.
That's what I'm getting at.
Even me working minimum, when I got my own place, we needed 2 incomes.
Yeah.
So it was like there was no way.
No, it was 2 of us. Don't get me wrong. It was me and my buddy John, right? So we both paid for this.
You can't have 2 Johns living in the same house.
We had 5 Johns in our friend group. Yeah, 5.
5?
Johns.
Did you
Johns.
go by last name or
always? Yeah.
Would you say like John S or would you
just
say like
Solomon.
Mendoza?
Yeah, mine would just be
They would just call you by name.
By your last name.
That's a lot of Johns. That's a popular
Johns.
name.
Yeah,
were they all Jonathans?
No, one Jonathan. The rest were Johns.
Were just John?
Just John. All John.
Jane.
The other 4 were John. Mine was the only Jonathan.
But if you're gonna go, I don't know. I like having a big name and then shortening it down. Like I like because then if you're in trouble, your mom could be like Jonathan.
Yeah.
And then John for short.
My mom doesn't even call me Jonathan. She calls me Johnny.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of what I saw that post and it kind of blew up a little bit on TikTok and I thought it was really interesting. I'm like, oh, I got to bring this up with Brittney. I think it'd be a good.
And it's honestly it's a slippery slope because
I
have tipped people in the drive-thru before, just because I wanted to. And had extra money, and I was like, "Here, you can have this." I have
too, but I've literally also asked, "Does this go to you?" Because I've had store owners take tips entirely.
Oh yeah, that will happen. Yes,
yeah. And that's shady as hell. Because I almost always like, especially when I go to a mom and pop, but like a smaller place, I will always ask the wait staff, "Does this tip go to you?"
If the owner's taking tips, it's a red flag. Like I would never work at a place where the owner was also serving tables, because it gets messy.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, well, that's my tip, and it's like, well, you shouldn't be getting a tip because you're the owner.
I had that shop we talked about a while back, right? We took tips at this shop, and even when I worked bar back, right?
Yeah.
When I worked the bar, I took tips, but the tips got split between my staff. I took 0 of the tips just because I worked. Doesn't mean I took the tips.
But you were the owner, right?
I was the owner.
There you go. The owner doesn't get tips.
I don't get tips. I got tips in the tip jar.
Yes, but then you gave it out to everybody else.
The other staff gets to split.
I'm saying
not mine.
The owner shouldn't be in the pool of staff because if
the owner is in the pool of the staff, that means the owner is not making enough money to float his own business.
To me it just seems immoral, right?
It is. It's
like
not
you
right.
can't take. You're the owner. You get all the extra. You get all the money.
Yeah, but their thought process is, well, I worked. I deserve this. Yes, you get paid at the end of the day.
You also get all the extra money from the food inflation that you get.
No, that's exactly it. It's what's left over is yours. When it comes to business owning, that's the funny part is a lot of people don't look at it this way. And that's how they usually tank their business is you're the last one to get paid.
Yeah. But you have to go in knowing that. And you have to keep your employees happy.
Exactly.
And you're not going to keep them happy.
If you look at it as I'm going to make all this money and then I pay everybody, you are in the wrong freaking line of work.
Yeah.
You're in
no
business of running your own business.
And that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
And I've seen it in restaurant more than enough times where it's like, I'm
restaurants,
done.
construction. I mean, you can name it. It's happened in those industries.
Oh, and construction people, they always have delays on their paychecks. It's
absolutely freaking sad. And pathetic, quite honestly, for the owner of the business to run that way. And he always ends up robbing Peter to pay Paul. What I mean by that is he'll take on a job spend all the money from the job and wait till the next job to pay for the first
to
job.
pay for that, to pay what the people put into that first job.
Correct. And
Yeah,
that
so-
to me is a bad. It's just somebody that doesn't know how to run business, and that happens more times than not
Well,
in construction specifically.
because you have to figure. I mean, I get you have to figure it out. So
Has to be a learning curve, but I would assume that the number one thing in starting your business would be taking care of your employees because you need them.
Yeah, employees, all your utilities, your rent, your overhead,
Mhm.
and then any materials you need to buy to make a business run, whether it be food or alcohol or marijuana or whatever the hell
All
it
the
is.
extra stuff you have to
The
buy.
stuff you actually have to
The
buy,
inventory.
the stuff you're trying to sell,
Yeah.
you know, and then what's left over, and then you got insurance and everything else, and then what's left over. Some of that goes back into the business because
Mhm.
otherwise the business is not going to thrive,
No, it won't.
and then the remainder is yours.
See, and that's interesting. Like, this whole conversation is, and I want to know now, like, how our audience feels about tipping, because how do you feel about it? Is it go to no matter what every place, or is it picky choosy on who gets it or what?
Right.
And I think everybody's different.
I think they are too. And then the funny part is, like, when you go to other countries, like Mexico included, they don't expect that tip, right?
That's what I've
And
heard.
in some countries, they even look at it as an insult. Like, oh, you're giving me extra money because I didn't do a good enough job. Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Yeah, there, especially a lot of the Asian countries will look at it as being an insult.
Okay, like
Like the country we're going to be going to.
Like, you feel bad that, do you tip
yeah,
there?
do not take.
You don't tip.
It's an absolute insult there.
Oh, like
Yeah.
offended?
Like they'll get offended by it. They'll give it back to you and take offense to it.
I can't relate. I'd be like, you want to give me free money? Like, okay.
Yeah, so that they.
No, I do like to earn it, but
Yeah.
if you gave me a tip, I'd be like, okay.
But I mean, if it wasn't the norm here, then we wouldn't worry about it. But
And
it
it's
is
only
the
the norm because it's
and
how
that's
it happened
really
back in the
only
day.
the norm here in the States.
And it's one of those things too. If you don't do it, you're the. I don't know. I always tell people, like, in just being in bartender things, if you come in, a lot of people do this too, and I don't know how I feel about it, because they'll come in with like a big tip on your first drink, like a 10 or a 20, right? And then they'll come back like the entire night and like never tip again, but then you get excited for it. Kind of works in the sense of like your brain, because you're like, oh, that was big tip Josh, so like you're gonna take care of big tip Josh, but in reality he might never tip. You might end up serving him 45 drinks.
So,
well, that's a lot.
But like, say you're saying like he drops a 10 on the very first drink or a 20 on the very first drink, orders 20 more drinks for the night, and never tips
and then
again.
never tips again.
It's identical to him having tipped the
It's
dollar.
the same thing.
Yeah, but the initial first couple orders, you're gonna pour them heavy.
It's smart. If you want more, you give your bartender that big tip right in the beginning, because they'll remember you. And if it continues, then it's even better. Like, bar etiquette is really, really crazy. Like, it's sophisticated.
So yeah, I mean, I have tipped big for my very first drink, because you come in and you're like, I have some extra cash. I'm gonna go ahead and give out an extra big tip. But I've never not tipped on sequential drinks.
Well, and that varies too, because it's like, is your server bringing the drink? Are you going up to the bar to get the drink? Is it a cocktail waitress that's bringing the drink?
Well, that's the thing too, right? If you're at a restaurant and you're sitting at a table, you're eating dinner, you know it's going to the waitress or waiter.
Yes, and
right?
then that waitress, if you are only dealing with waitress, that waitress will take her tips and tip the bartender.
Correct.
So that waitress, the wait staff gets the most, or they get it all at once, and then they're the ones who have to
split it up.
But then bar gets their own, and then only has to split it between
and that's
bussers and or kitchen.
A lot of times when we're at restaurants that are like super, super busy, even though, like, especially if we're going with a larger group,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that if I order a drink, sometimes ordering it at the table takes 10 times longer.
Oh, it'll take so much longer.
Right, then just walk up to the bar and pick it up.
And you close it out right away.
But I do get I have seen a waiter get upset at me for saying, just next time just order it through me.
Well, yeah, because they're at that tip.
He gets that tip.
If you buy your drink
I
from the bar,
but I want my drink now.
and that's the secret. I tell people that all the time. You want a drink, come to me as a bartender,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you walk in, I have your drink, and you're done. You pay me out, and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the night.
And I'm tipping the person who just made the drink, nobody else.
But yeah, that happens all the time. But with the waitress bartender dynamic, or waiter, the server bartender dynamic can get kind of brutal, because you don't want to take money. Again, yeah, that was a tip or a sale that said waiter would have had, and you took it and went to the bar. But as a bartender, I'm like, yeah, go to the bar.
But
a lot of people don't think they can do that, but you can. You can get the drink, pay for it, and go sit down.
Especially when you're with a large group of people, almost guarantee your drink will take twice as
Well,
long as it
and
would if
and
you were
that's
just to
because
walk up to the bar and get
when
it.
said waitress puts in that long order, say there's a table of 12,
Yeah.
and you all ordered alcohol.
Yeah.
It's coming out as one big ticket.
Correct.
Now
right.
bartender
So you have to wait
is-
for all these drinks to get done before they bring in.
Sometimes they'll
They'll
bring
bring in
them.
a beer here, a beer there.
Yeah,
Sure.
depending on if there's people around to help. I didn't like drinks to sit, so I always run people's drinks.
Sure.
Because your ice melts and it's not the same.
No.
So it's like, give it to them when it's great, when
Especially
it's good.
when it's a mixed drink that has ice in it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not talking
have
about
to,
a beer.
like-
Beer is easy. That's the thing.
But
Pop
beer
the
still
bottle.
gets warm. It's
It-
like,
it
give it
does,
to them
you're
right away. Because if
you're
it
right.
sits for a long time, it's so...
But you send it back and then you end up with a
I'm
beer.
always running drinks because even if you get 6 done now, people complain, but people complain about everything. Then you get the other
Exactly.
6 out, but you will wait 3 times as long because that bartender is now making 12 drinks as opposed to your one, especially like a beer or a shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
We always get those dads that come up for shots when they're at like
Really?
a family dinner or something, and
That's
they
funny.
hey, give me a double shot. Like, here you go.
Yeah, it takes
Like,
half
you
a
need
second.
it?
Exactly.
You need this, huh?
Here
It's
you
one of
go,
those
buddy.
days.
Yeah, I don't know. I really do. Like, especially when we're out like with the family and whatnot, and I know I can get a drink quicker. Not that I need my drink right now, but it just feels, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna tip the appropriate person. I have to worry about the whole hassle of running it through, and then I know I have 2 bills, but it's getting cashed out right
but
then.
it's not 2 bills if you cash it out right away.
Exactly.
If you open a tab, then yeah, you might forget about your bar tab.
No, I've
Close it out.
never done that. When it comes to ordering separate, when it comes to like that specifically for
Yeah.
like dinner or whatnot, or if we're waiting for dinner, you know,
If you haven't
and they're
got
like,
one while
oh,
you're
we'll take
waiting.
your order right here for
Mhm.
drinks. I'm like, no, I'll just go to the bar. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and then it's done. And then like said bartender, depending on how busy they are, usually they're not.
Yeah.
At different, more restaurant-y places. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't go to the bars.
Yeah.
So it's like you can just
The
walk straight
bar
up
is
there.
usually just running orders for the waiters,
They're
waitresses,
usually doing
right?
the server drinks.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they want you to come up there because again, your server's gonna be mad, but that's an extra $1 in their pocket. So
exactly.
that server's still gonna get tipped because she's giving the drinks and the food and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, they get mad.
Yeah.
They get real mad.
Yeah.
So like that was my, customer, and people fight over customers all the time too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like within the inside.
Yeah.
And I think people who tip big know that, and I think it honestly cool. Like if that's your thing and you want that extra attention, like
All right.
play it up, right?
For sure.
Like you'll have servers fighting over where you sit because they know you're gonna give them, you're gonna get good money at the end of it.
Yeah.
So then it's more of a thing of like the servers like sit here, There'll be arguments between them, but bartender, it's like if you want it fast, just go to the bar.
Have you ever gone to like dinner or lunch or whatever with a friend, and you have a friend that's a crappy tipper?
Yeah.
Cover their difference on the tip?
Yeah. All the time. I'll put secret money under the plates.
Yeah.
And they'll find it. And they'll be like, hey.
Yeah.
Most of the time I look, my friends, they put up with me because I know how I am. I'll say, what are you tipping?
Yeah.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, how much you giving? And then, because usually what happens is we're splitting the bill.
Yes.
So then we'll like, hey, what, and this happens a lot too, where groups will come in and then one person will take said bill and not
I think we
tip
talked about this
on
before.
that. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So splitting it's nice because you're gonna get 2 tips, right? You get 2 separate people giving,
what they
X
feel
amount.
what they feel is necessary for a tip, and it's usually a bare minimum 15%, but sometimes it's not.
But then you get double that because you have 2 people tipping, right? So
yeah, but it's so sometimes you'll get the one guy that'll. I say guy because it's always a dude that's.
Oh no, that's not. It's either a dude or a woman who thinks you want to hook up with her dude. They won't tip.
Got it. Yeah, and you'll
like
get.
You smiled at him like, yeah, I'm a bartender.
Yeah, we've had friends that were like, I don't know, college age. I'll say this is years ago, and then they'll walk away, and I'll see the ticket on the thing, and I'll see the 0 tip.
Dude, I got a no tip on a $2 bill once. Like we had a taco night, and the tacos were like 25 cents. And this girl came in and ordered like $2.15 worth of tacos, and then she just wrote on there too, like, you're not getting a tip. I was like, well, you couldn't tip on $2.
Tip another $2.
You couldn't just you couldn't just like.
Throw another $2.
I brought you all your tacos.
Yeah.
And but it's funny when they'll write like people. I've had people write. A lot of people write math, and they'll just write the total, and then on the tip line they'll write math, like you figure it out.
Oh, I see.
But we put in the total amount anyway, so
Yeah,
that's really where you don't. If you don't want people to, if you don't. This happens a lot too in miscommunication because some people math wrong in math.
For sure.
And then we go off total. We're told to go off total.
Yeah,
I've
whatever
had
it says in the total.
I've had people accidentally put like $100, and I knew who they were, so I went back and I was like, "Hey, are you like drunk.
Right.
Teaching me to put this, but that was my common courtesy, because at the end of the day,
you didn't have to
you write the wrong number.
That's what you're getting charged.
That's what you're getting charged.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's on that total line is what Sturbers write down when they do the books at the end of the night.
Yeah.
So don't mess that number.
Don't mess up
You're gonna be screwed, and you can't come back from that either. And if you forget your card, if you start a tab and you come back the next day to, well, usually if we have your card, we'll pay it out. We run it for that set amount, but that means 0 tip. And most people that forget their cards, we were serving them the whole night because they forgot.
They forgot for a reason.
And so it's always nice to come back in with cash, or it's kind of annoying, but sometimes they can run your card for like a cent and then you can add tip to it at that point. We used to get that a lot with people who leave their cards because they didn't have cash.
Got it.
But remember that that person for the night before, when you did forget your card, is getting 0 on that. So it's and it's money out of their own pocket, because again,
they have to pay for everybody else's.
When you're
it's a percentage of the total tab, right?
Yeah, when you tip out, you don't tip out on your tip amount. You don't say, I got $200 and now I'm going to take 6% of this $200.
No.
You take the total amount you sold that night. So you take that $5,000, and that's where you get your splits.
At some places, not all places do this, but some places they'll basically say, okay, X percentage is going to the kitchen, X percentage is going to the bus people, and so on down the line. I think the host or hostess also gets some of it, right?
Yeah, but it goes off of your total sales. So every time you don't tip a server,
it comes out of the server's pocket.
Money out of their pocket that they have to pay for. And then I've also worked jobs where if you don't have a tab and that table walks out, you pay for it out of your pocket.
Yeah.
$70 I had to pay for this one stupid B word.
Which I think
walked out on me.
I think that nonsense should belong on.
And then she came back, and then they expected me to serve her, and I wouldn't, and they'd get frustrated. They're like, "She's in your section." I said, "I don't care.
Move her."
She $70 she cost me.
Yeah.
I'm never serving her again.
Exactly.
But
I think that's where I think the line is very, very, very gray. It's not black and white at all. I think anytime that something gets messed up and it's out of your control, that's on the restaurant, unfortunately, not on you.
It was our responsibility, and we're like 21, right?
Exactly.
So
that's what I'm getting at. Like, okay, I'll use this for a perfect example. This has nothing to do with food service. I had an employee that cost me an entire contract, so probably like tens of thousands of dollars over the year, right? I didn't fire him. Mm-hmm. I reprimanded him for screwing up. I definitely didn't charge him for screwing up.
Could you imagine? Well, he would have sued you with that.
But that's what I'm getting at, is that's the same concept, and just on a much smaller scale. This is just a much grander scale. Yes, he lost me a lot of money, but ultimately he was a good employee for the most part.
Oh, I think that's the thing too. It's not even that. What does that say about the employees? Like, oh, well, they lost another table, like they suck. It's like, no, I was a good server.
No, it's not your fault that customers suck.
It was my fault for trusting them, because they said, I'm going to.
But you trust everybody that's walking in.
Yeah, they were like, I'll be right back. I'm like, okay. They're going to go to my car, and they just left. And I was like, and of course, I was, like I said, 22, 23. Like, I just was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I had to pay, like, looking back on it, I shouldn't have paid for it.
No. But, I mean, they bully you into that stuff.
I got bullied so bad when I was a server.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's what I kind of wanted to.
Trauma work.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shit.
Trauma work life. Anyway, we're not talking. We're just talking random.
Literally random. This is a very random conversation, but I thought it was a very interesting one because I've gone out so many times this last week, and I'm like, this is more times I've gone out in this last week than I have in the last year.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be.
So I think we have the answers.
Yes.
So it's number 1: tip on a drink. Okay, that's coffee, alcohol, whatever. Obviously, grabbing a water bottle from a convenience store. No.
Exactly, that's everything.
But if
somebody's physically making you a drink.
You tip on that.
I mean, and again, I'll even go as far as cracking open my beer. I'll still tip.
You have to tip on the beer open.
I do, yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to have it open unless you brought your own, I guess. But, they won't give it to you.
They won't give it to you unopened anyway.
They won't give it to you unopened.
You get a cold glass. So I mean, you're tipping on the experience of walking up to the bar.
And honestly, like some of those cups and pouring the beers into it, like
when you're pouring from tap, that's a guaranteed. Guaranteed tip. I'm talking about something that's popped open from a beer bottle.
Like,
yeah. I still tip on that.
That's my favorite tip to get.
Still tip on that.
It's
still a dollar. It's a free buck.
It's the easiest tip.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my
favorite. It costs you like all of 30 seconds.
People have beer, like, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so tip on drinks. If you get served, if you sit down and there's somebody serving you food,
taking your order,
bringing you your drinks, that whole
refilling
shebang.
your water, all that good stuff.
Yes, coffee in the morning,
whatever.
You tip them.
Yes.
You tip them 20 to 25%.
Yeah.
15 at the lowest.
15 at the bare minimum. If you're going to go any lower than 15%, make food at home. Consider that.
Yeah. So it's like that. I think that, and then, okay, for to go, no, you're fine. You don't need to.
You don't have to tip. I mean, if you really, really, really feel like tipping and you know the money is going to the kitchen.
And you can ask.
You can say, I'll tip, 10 or 15%. That's cool.
Well, even to the person who's taking your order. Dealing in customer service.
Tough, dude.
Yes, but it's tough to deal with customers and dealing with customer service, and people are really weird about their food.
Yeah, but to me, that is no different than ordering McDonald's, and I'll never tip at a McDonald's.
But then also they're still making the food, like because it's corporate, like you wouldn't tip at McDonald's.
Oh, because they don't take tips at McDonald's, but that's besides the point.
They will in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
We just don't say anything. Like, I've tipped drive-thru people and they never said anything because you're giving them free cash. What are you gonna say? Don't.
No.
I some people don't take tips.
Yeah. I've never tipped through a drive-thru except at a Starbucks.
I have.
Oh, and at Everest over here in town.
I'll be like, hey, thanks.
Because I know it's a family-owned place.
It's family-owned.
And I know it goes to the staff.
Yeah. So so a walk-up, you're not getting, you guys are doing equal work, so to that you can kind of leave it how you feel.
Yeah.
And so if you walk up, you don't need a tip. If you're sitting down, you need a tip.
If you're at a 7-Eleven and they turn the iPad around to write out a tip, no, you don't need to leave the freaking.
Well, that's insane because that you went and grabbed your own thing.
Yeah, everything. Anytime you're grabbing your own stuff, even if you're grabbing a water bottle at a restaurant, like they have a fridge or something, and you're just getting a water bottle, don't tip on that.
You wouldn't have to tip on that one.
I wouldn't even.
Grab it.
I would not even tip on that one. I would even consider tipping.
I don't know. I feel like this is a good conversation of like everyone's gonna have different.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
that's
I'm interested. Point. I want to know.
I do too.
I'm like, how does
That's
it
why
work?
I brought it up because I think.
And in different countries, we probably sound crazy.
Oh, I
right?
think we
why would you
absolutely freaking nuts.
Why would you tip anyone ever?
This capitalistic BS that they came up with decades ago, and then it's carried through till now, and unfortunately, it's just coming to fruition to where we're finally starting to pay people what they're worth. And don't tell me that food service workers aren't worth the $20 an hour. Knock it off. Where the hell else are you gonna go to eat? Knock that crap off.
Where else are you gonna go?
Yeah, exactly.
Where else are you gonna go?
You're not gonna cook at home, so quit it.
You either deal with it. Shut up.
Shut up. It doesn't affect you in any which way, shape, or form. Anyway.
Well, I drink, and it's funny because I was a bartender forever, and I don't go out to drink.
Yeah.
Because it's hard
I don't like to go to bars very often.
Well, it's hard to justify the cost.
No.
You know what I mean? And especially when I've been there and I know what it goes into these like tutti frutti macaronis. Like I know what it is, and it's like I can get that. Like I just know the ingredients, so I can make it so much cheaper.
No, absolutely. But sometimes when you're like, say you're out and about, say you take a vacation to Tahoe, you have no choice. You gotta go
vacation's different.
That's what I'm getting at.
Vacation.
I think that's a majority of the time when we go.
Dang, I didn't think about that because you're gonna be gone for like 3 weeks, so every meal you're gonna have to eat out.
Yeah.
7-Eleven's supposed to be really good.
7-Eleven is really good.
That's a really good 7-Elevens. I'd be all about that. $2 sushis. Like
there's
okay.
a lot of ramen places that we stuff.
Oh, ramen's so good. But in context, like taking such a big vacation, it's one thing when you go for 3 days and all your meals are eaten out, but
that's the one thing. Another thing for 20 days.
For every meal, that's crazy. And then, are you in a hotel so you couldn't like buy food and like cook, or would you? Because you're going to a different country. I don't even know what to cook.
I don't think I would because we're going to another country because I can cook Japanese food pretty well.
I don't know. I wouldn't know what to read at the store.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Google translates the thing, right?
Google translates really cool.
Yeah. So I think that we're just gonna eat out all the time because I'm excited for the sweets.
And there's like street food too, right?
Oh yeah, we're going to a new place.
Vending machines. You can get like ramen in like a vending machine.
It's gonna be.
This is crazy.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'll bring you back something.
Okay, ramen will be good.
Yeah, ramen.
Could be dry. I don't care. Just the noodles. I'll cook it in my own American water.
Exactly.
It won't be the same.
It won't be Japanese water.
It won't be Japanese water. It won't be the same.
Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lovely little short video that we just put together of a literal random conversation.
A good one.
It was a good one. I think it is a good one. I think it requires a further chat actually in the future.
I think it's just a valid conversation of seeing times change and seeing how traditions are also changing And plus all those commercials where it's like they're turning the screen around like at the gym. He's like,
Yeah.
what is it here?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like then he goes over and is like, what? How much? And you're like,
Knock it off.
what?
Yeah, knock
Like,
it
no
off.
more.
Knock it off. Yeah,
Burn your tip.
It's getting out of hand. It is getting out of hand. But as far as food goes, I'm not going to stop.
If you want to tip us.
Yeah, there might be a thing down there where you could join along. I know there is on our podcast. So, yeah, that's there. That's
Tip
the thing.
us, it'll be fine.
Like we said at the very beginning of this, if you can please do all the things down below, the likes, the subscribes, the follow alongs, and please share this with friends and family. We need your guys' help in order to grow the channel. And also, don't forget to
Backhand the notification bell.
just like Dad used to do. And until the next one, see ya.
Bye. I like that. You're insincere. I like that.
No, I literally like that.
No, I know, but I'm just quoting Simpsons.
Oh.
Simpsons.
You caught me off guard on that one.
Yeah.